Can everybody unmute?
Unmute.
Because I'm sorry, mute. My apologies. Can everybody mute? Because I can see Honorable Yinana is still. Honorable members, today we are adopting our report as we discussed last week. And can I just make this humble request that all of us must mute. You'll only unmute when you are speaking, and you also show your face, because we remember that we are running in all the media, what do you call them, streams or channels. We are on YouTube today. I can see in the attendance. Having said that, we have been having a very cold days. I hope members are very careful even when they are doing their constituency work. But those with comorbidities, can they please stay at home, use their phones to do the work? It doesn't mean work is not to be done, but there must then be a communication with your constituency all the time. But it is quite risky. Can they please? The peak has arrived. It's quite scary. To do the but what else can we do? As the minister, it's about time that we accept, adapt that we are quite risky virus, and it then means all the things must just be changed. It's new normal on everything. And as public representatives, we are to lead by example. Having said that, honorable members, can I give over to Mr. Sakaza to just take us through who is in the meeting and the apologies thereof. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chair, and good day to all my members and the chairperson and my colleagues. Chairperson, we have the following members present today. Yourself, Chairperson, we've got Honorable Nkabane, Honorable Zuma, Honorable Begram, Honorable Denner, Honorable Kado, Honorable Ndabe, Honorable Nonsele, and Honorable Yinana. I received an apology, if I may call it an apology, from Honorable Ntlangwini, who confirmed that she will be joining later, a bit later. From the staff chair, we've got myself, Sibongiseni, the content advisor, Tebuho, the researcher, Mvaba, the acting committee assistant, and we also have Uadri, who's our technical assistant. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Mr. Sakaza. Honorable members, we are then going to start with our report, but I'll suggest that we start with it because of the challenges of the load shedding, because I don't want us to, when we are to adopt, we will then have a problem of the quorum. I will then, because of that, also propose or suggest a process that if members do have some issues in the body of the report in terms of the background and all the issues that are raised, we then members just take us to that particular page. Our focus and concentration should be on our observations and recommendations. So if members want us to start from page 1, 2, 3, I'm fine with that. But my challenge and my fear is the issue of load shedding. So I don't want us to be interrupted by that. So I'm putting that to the committee to check if they are if people agree with that process. The main focus will be on our observations and recommendations. But if members want to speak on anything in the body, it's fine. But we must be aware that we are chasing time because of load shedding. in particular areas. Any comments?
Sorry, Chair, if through you, Chair, if I can have a quick one. Honorable Hermanas has just joined in, Chair. Sorry, I wanted to just say that.
Okay.
Thank you, Chair.
Okay. Can I have anybody
Alright.
want to comment? Honorable Ndabe?
Thank you very much, Chair. Your proposal, Chair, is supported 100%.
Thank you very much. Any second to that? Is there any objection? No objection. Can we then, if honorable members don't have any comment or say in the body of the report, can we then be taken straight to our recommendation, our observations and recommendations? Mr. Sakaza, can I have that on the screen? Although all members received the report, but on the screen so that I'm able to. Honorable Sakaza is muted.
Is it showing? I've just put it up. Share.
I don't know.
Showing members.
Not yet.
Okay, let me try again. Share. Why I don't see it here? Just give me a second. I'm trying to get to it, Chair. Showing.
Not yet.
It
Not
is
yet.
showing, Chair.
Oh, okay. Maybe it's my screen, but I will use my gadget.
Mine as well is not showing, Chair.
Okay, mine is showing now. Who is still have got a problem?
Sibusiso Mdabe, Chair.
You don't have it in your gadget.
It's not showing on the screen, but I do have it on the phone.
Okay. Will you be able to?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. We will then continue. I think we all agreed. Can we then go, if there are no comments on and some corrections in the body, can we then go straight to our observations, Mr. Sakaza?
Observation, yes, Chair. I'm going down to them now.
Thank you, which is 0.5. Thank you. There we are, honorable members. 5.1, are there any comments? Which is about our observations in terms of the Department of Employment and Labor, with the understanding, honorable members, that our focus is on the adjustment. So those are the areas where the department last week took us through in terms of which programs and how then those programs have then been affected by the adjustment. If there are any comments on 5.1, can we go to 5.1.1? Okay, 5.1.2. Can you go up, Mr. Sakaza? Any comments? 5.1.2.
I have my hand up, Chair.
Okay, I'm noting you, Honorable Mdabe. Any other hand?
Michael Bagram.
Mr. Bagram. Okay. Yes, Honorable Mdabe.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chairperson, and good morning to all members. I would like to add on 5.1.2 one sentence on inspection and enforcement services that an adjusted budget has not affected the process of recruitment of the additional 500 occupational health and safety inspectors. If members would recall, Chair, that the issue of 500 occupational health and safety inspectors was raised, and therefore on the adjusted budget, it has not affected their employment.
Okay. Okay. Before I go to okay, can I check, Honorable Bagram, what's your issue there? Before I'm
Thank you.
raising them. I'm raising them together so that when members are commenting, they do say which one, which amendment or addition are they supporting, or on both of those that you have. So I'll hand over to you, Honorable Baker.
Thank you, Madam Chair. With regard to inspection and enforcement service programs, I'm objecting to the budget being cut on this because we're so desperate to have the laws enforced, and even with the 500, it's a minute section of our community. They never get round, the inspectors, because there's so few of them, even with the extra 500, and we've had them now out in the field for a while, they just never get to any of the businesses. Only if someone actually raises a complaint will they get there. Otherwise, they don't do it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Baker. But will that not be well located when either if we are going to debate, but we still fall under those that are going to ask questions to the minister? Will your comment not be well located when we're in that process? I'm not saying you're raising something that is not important in terms of what you have observed, but is it not well located when we are either engaged in debates or questions to the minister?
You're absolutely correct. I always do raise it whenever I speak to the minister in any of our meetings. I always raise that we don't have enough inspection and enforcement services.
Okay.
I'll raise it again with pleasure.
Okay. Can we then go to, okay, that has fallen off. Can we then go to Honorable Mdabe's proposal? Any comments, seconder, rejection, whatever?
Decision. Chair. Honorable Chairperson.
Honorable Almans, thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. Good morning, honorable members and officials. Chairperson, the addition by Honorable Mdabe, I want to second it, the one for the addition of the sentence on the appointment of the enforcement officers, the 500 enforcement officers. I just want to second that one because it's missing from 5.1.2. Thank you.
Thank you very much. There are no objections. Okay. There are no objections on that. We will. I hope the Secretariat has noted that.
Yes.
5.1.3 Public Employment Services Program. There's somebody who has not muted and who's moving around. Can the person from IT try and correct that or mute that person, because it's really, I don't know whether it's only on my side. That person is really disturbing my concentration. 5.1.3. If there are no comments,
Wanted
we
to
go to
comment.
5.1.3.
Yeah, I wanted to comment. Michael Bagram.
Is it a comment or is it an addition? Remember,
Well,
this is I remember, because we are not going to put comments here. We are going to put down your proposals.
well, my proposal is that this has never worked and it's been a waste of money all along. And I was hoping they would get no money now that they had to cut down. That we don't need a program like this when they've been an absolute waste of time right through.
Again, you will put that to the minister when you ask a question.
I have done so. That's my observation.
So your observations are that this shouldn't have been given any money.
Correct.
Can I
Should rather
check?
use the money for inspection and for the CCMA.
If then that is your proposal, is there any seconder to that proposal?
Yes, Chair. Michael Carter, I would second that proposal.
Any objection to that proposal? Thank you, honorable members. Any objection?
I object, Chair.
Honorable Nonsele, if you then you are objecting, and therefore what are you saying? You suggest that it stays as it is.
It says that it is. I think, Chair, the point here is unless we just want to try and play politics, the issue here that has necessitated this adjustment has been occasioned by COVID-19. And COVID-19 cuts across political lines, cuts across color, cuts across class, cuts across religion. If today we are going to say government should have prioritized something else, and what exactly are we saying should have been left out? Should that have been lives of ordinary people that have been left out? But the issues here relate to how, for instance, budget has been reprioritized to give effect to the commitments that government has made with regard to interventions that are beyond our control, but interventions that are necessitated by COVID-19. Hence my point that the two honorable members are just really politicking unnecessarily on this specific matter. Thank you, Madam Speaker. Your chair.
Is there a seconder to the objection?
Honorable Dabe.
Honorable Davin?
The person I seconded the objection from Honorable Nonsele.
All right, can we then agree, honorable members, that the point will remain, two members, they know that they do have a right if we're still going to debate or ask questions to the minister to raise their views as far as they are concerned in terms of that point. And I think Honorable Bagram is correct. He has always been consistent in him not seeing the need for that program. But unfortunately, that program is to be there. But he will still advance, they will still advance their views when we either asking questions or debating. Having said that, honorable members, can we go to 5.1.4? If there are no comments, 5.2, which is supported employment enterprises, any comments? Thank you. Then we'll go to point 6, which is then our recommendations, which is 6.1. Can
I come in at 6.1?
Yes.
Michael Bagram?
Yes, Mr. Bagram. Yes.
Thank you. I thought that we should recommend that when they engage with the social partners, engage with NEDLAC, that we would look to changing some of our labour laws and going back to the drawing board to have a look to see which way we can help small business survive and thrive. I thought that would be something strong, and we have debated it in our committee.
Can I get any comments on that before I come in?
Yes, Chair, it's Michael Cardo here. I think we should be careful to provide observations and recommendations of substance, which so far don't seem to be coming through to me at the moment. We need to take cognizance of the fact that we have a huge unemployment crisis in South Africa. It was pretty bad before the arrival of COVID-19, but COVID-19 has made it infinitely worse. Early projections were that there would be 3 to 7 million job losses by National Treasury. And it seems to me that we're sort of rearranging the deck chairs on the Titanic with this report, with our observations and recommendations so far. They're all very tepid and insubstantial. And I do think we need to highlight, certainly in the observations section, the magnitude of this crisis. And then we need to entertain seriously proposals that have been made by the likes of my colleague, Honourable Bagram, when it comes to the reprioritization of funds. I mean, this is a joint committee report, and I think these suggestions should be entertained properly. Thank you.
The properly side of it, I just want to, what my understanding is that last week when we were dealing with the adjustment, and in us dealing with the adjustment, which I always remind members, because as the chair, I always have a should I say, a concern that issues, we don't, what is it? We don't raise issues vigorously when the department is in front of us, led by the minister. We then want to raise issues now, and members know, in particular the two members, that not that they should not raise their issues as the political party if they feel strongly about them. But it can't be now when we are in dealing with recommendations and observations, we then want to come in and bring in issues which then we are not going to be able to engage and debate with the department on. And why I'm raising that, the issue of the amendment of the Labour Relations Act, if that's the view of the Democratic Party, it's fine. They are entitled to their views, but they are entitled in their views, which they must table it in an appropriate forum or process so that we engage. It can't be now when we are dealing with the adjustment and then even if we have been raising them before, but now when we were dealing with adjustment, we didn't put it strongly that we think that these adjustments, for them to whatever, there must then be an amendment of the Labour Relations Act so that the entire committee at that particular time, including the department led by the minister, is afforded an opportunity to respond. So that's why I want to labor on the issue that there's nothing wrong in members raising issues, but those issues members must be able to differentiate, I'm sorry, a matter for debate and an issue that we are recommending it to be put in the report. When we are then in the debate, obviously members, they know that they will raise issues, and at that time the minister will then be able to. So I don't think it will be correct for us now to talk about the amendment of the Labor Relations Act in our recommendations, in as far as the adjustment, when we have not raised it when we were in the committee.
Madam Chair, if I may answer. Michael Bagram.
Why don't we give other members to comment before you come in? Because I don't want it to be dialogue. Can I get what is the feeling of other members?
Seems they're all in agreement by virtue of their silence.
Chair, we are not in agreement with that. Chair, can you allow
Honorable
Honorable Bagram, can you allow Honorable Bagram to say this so that we will respond to him?
What's that? Honorable Baker?
If I may, Madam Chair, and I hear your point, and it's a very good one and absolutely solid, that we must raise these points with the Minister. Well, I did. And you will recall in the meeting that the Director General said that this is a point that needs to be debated in Parliament and that he didn't want to debate it any further. The Minister didn't comment, but I raised that specific point twice with the Minister, once when we were discussing NEDLAC and its abilities and its performance, and at a later stage when we were discussing the actual changed budget. And at both occasions, I said that we need to focus on small business, change our laws, change our approach and our regulations for small business. Small business has been devastated by COVID-19, and this committee seems to ignore that completely, and you're doing just that right now. So thank you for listening to me.
Honorable members, there are the comments.
Yes, Chair, can I respond?
Honorable Nontsele, is there any other person who wants to respond?
Honorable Ntabek.
Honorable Nontsele,
Please, Chair, as well.
any other member?
Honorable Dana, please.
Oh, I hear you, Honorable Dana. Honorable Nontsele.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. Honorable Chair, the argument that is put forward by the honorable members is just similar to the earlier argument they have put forward. The argument, which is a stale argument that goes for deregulation of labor market, it's an old ideological argument that has been advanced by DA, including its predecessor, DP, and so on, which is founded on the argument that allowing the market to do as it please with the state moving backwards so that the market can in fact be allowed to do as it wishes. That argument has been debunked by many researches that has been done, including that was undertaken by the International Labour Organization, that in fact found that labor market in South Africa is flexible enough. And there is absolutely nothing or no reason why, in fact, we should, in fact, always be arguing for such measures. With regard to the impact, for instance, that COVID-19 has in fact impacted upon on our economy, that is undeniably correct. And we are not an exception compared to other global economies. We have been impacted upon just like all other economies. And the appropriate interventions that have been put in place by government are in fact assisting to ensure that particularly the small business sector is in fact positioned in a better way, that they can be able in fact to cushion themselves against the conditions that have since arisen. The areas and interventions that we have made collectively, Chair, including the introduction of the Temporary Employees Relief Scheme by the Department of Employment and Labour, speak to such interventions. And they were essentially directed at cushioning the impact that would in fact lead to a situation where in fact some of these small businesses do not find their way back after this period. But the most unfortunate part is that all global economies are in fact decimated by COVID-19. And South Africa cannot be an isolation where it expects that different mechanism or different impact would have had arisen. Taking it further, Chair, you would have to look into the history itself of our country. The economy that has been disproportionately shared across race in particular and class in general. You would find that South Africans, in fact, have been at the receiving end. That is in their majority. That is before COVID-19. So the notion that comes to say that labor market is in fact a source of inhibition in creation is patently wrong, and in fact is in fact a persuasion of the old school of thought that in fact DA and all its predecessors are in fact founded upon. So we can therefore conclude and say there is an area that need to be considered as part of this report that talks to the review of labor laws, because they do not in fact fall in line or consistently even with the spirit of the South African Constitution that in fact protects the rights of workers regardless of the area or sector they are involved in. So in my view, Chair, that the arguments by both honorables should in fact be rejected in total. Thank you, Honorable Chair.
Honorable Ndabe.
I'm covered, Chair, by the articulation by Honorable Nonsele, Chair. But you have given the direction in terms of what the members should do if they feel aggrieved to or they are not happy with the formulation.
What has happened now? Is Honorable Ndabe still around?
Yes, Chair, I'm still around. I've said I'm covered by Honorable Nonsele, Chair.
Okay.
And
Honorable
you have
Dana?
given direction in terms of how the process should be unfolding.
Okay. Honorable Dana?
Thank you, Chair. Now, I just have a question about the committee's process, and you must correct me if I'm wrong. I just want to know, are we as a committee not supposed to be able to deliberate after a presentation from the department on our own, without the presence of the department? Because if I understand you correctly, we cannot, according to your analysis, insert recommendations or observations that have not been tested in the presence of the department or the minister or the DG or whoever. But are we not supposed to be able to deliberate as a committee to work for the greater good of the labour market and to give recommendations and observations that should be taken into a report?
The purpose of the briefings by departments is to accord us an opportunity to interrogate by asking questions to the department, which is led by the minister. That is why the minister will then come with the DG and all the heads of the relevant departments. And the purpose of that is that they are to respond to questions. In that process, we are expected, that's why I'm using interrogate. So we must interrogate, we must allow them an opportunity to respond. That is what is called, this process is it's part of the oversight. So when because oversight, it's physical, us going to a particular institution or entity. The other form is for the department to come and account in front of us. So when we are then going to put recommendations are then going to go to the office of the speaker, whatever office, which then is then going to make a follow-up. And when they're going to be sent to the department, when they are sent to the department will then say, but we could have responded on the matter if we were given an opportunity when we were in front of the. So they are not just coming there to give reports to us and ask questions and either ask questions or be very diplomatic. What is important is that we must not be hostile or arrogant towards the department, but we are to assert our responsibility as legislators in terms of accountability of the department. So we can't then separately discuss without them, because where are we going to get answers from? So that is why, therefore, the process is that after this, you know, as the opposition, that you always reject the report, and you're accorded an opportunity in the debate or in answering questions to again advance your views, your strong views on matters. That's why other parties, the DA has done that, say we want a motion of national interest. So you are allowed to do that. So when it comes, I want to emphasize, when the department comes in front of the committee to make a submission, even if it's an entity, it's our responsibility to ask questions, so that it's going to be on us asking questions to then say, this is what we have observed, and this is what we are recommending. It's on the basis of what was then the response from whoever from the department. I hope I've made that clear. And well, can we then go to 6.1.1, which is page 12? Because some of the advances that honorable members are raising, those are political and ideological advances that are to be debated. But they are to be debated not only by this committee, because they are not only affecting this committee. As much as this committee, it is this primary responsibility. And I don't want to think that it is correct to then say this committee has not taken small business serious, because we have never had an opportunity of even had a joint meeting with small business. But ours is to focus into whatever is affecting the labor market with the added responsibility, added mandate. So when we are navigating, we must navigate understanding that our responsibilities at times, and there's nothing wrong for members to raise proposals on how we are to engage this debate, but it can't be that there are issues of small business that we are not taking serious. Otherwise, we wouldn't have agreed on TERS for that matter. As much as it is a pandemic, falls under regulations, but we never had an issue about that. And that process of TERS is a process that both these two departments have been interacting with one another. Can we go to 6.1.2? Oh, in terms of the recommendations, where are we, Mr. Sakaza? Which page are we?
Were we not discussing 6.1.1?
Yeah, page 12, 6.1.1, Chair.
Hey, Xolani sungikhwaza man tu, please. Andingakhwazwa zii-members nanini, ndiyacela. I think we are done with 6.1.1.
No, I haven't wanted to comment on that.
Okay.
I just wanted to comment that I'm not sure where we got the idea the gender inequality in the workplace is a contributing factor to gender-based violence. I've never seen any study done for that at all. I'm not sure where that comes from. And I'm also wanting to comment that employment equity should not be a criminal offense. It's been criminalized and I don't think it should be. And I've made that point many times as well. Thank you.
Any other person want to comment on 6.1.1? Gender-based violence, it's only that now I can't go to the report that was raised by in the presentation by the department last week in terms of that. And well, there is gender-based violence in workplace. It differs in terms of the form. So it's not something that we can then wash away in terms of, because it happens in there. Whether you term it harassment, which we didn't, sexual harassment, which we didn't, whether it's sexual, whether it's psychological in terms of the workplace, but the department did raise an issue about the gender-based violence, and at that time we didn't then correct and say no, we've got an issue about this. But well, as a former worker, I know that there is a gender-based violence in the work at the workplace. Maybe it's because it's not being elevated, because it does not result into injuries which are physical and subsequently death, which in the other is called femicide. I'm not quite sure, Mr. Baker. You keep on going back to this thing that I proposed that if you feel that employment equity is not to be criminalized, fine. But now, is it the platform for that now? Can it be? Can you put that as a question to the minister or as a debate at a relevant time? All right.
Chair.
Can
Chair.
Honorable, who's that one?
Honorable Nonsela, Chair.
Honorable Nonsela.
Yeah.
Yes.
Can I come in, Chair? Yes, Chair, the matter that is raised by Honorable Bagram on 6.1.1 is a matter of principle that we can't allow to be dealt with formally. When it says that we should not criminalize employment equity non-compliance, it is in fact wrong, and that needs to be rejected. Because what he basically says is that in the context of the South African labor market history, including the constraints imposed by both patriarchal and class challenges, we would now have to, in fact, create an environment where offenders who perpetuate discrimination at the workplace to go scot-free because they are not supposed to be answerable to the law. I think that is a wrong point of departure, and it needs to be rejected with the contempt it deserves. The issue of employment equity is also about assisting both racial and class integration in our society, where during apartheid you found hundreds and thousands of our people with qualifications, but because of their color, they could not find positions that were properly suited or meeting the level of the skills that they have acquired. You would find and you would accept that apartheid was in fact premised on a very, very wrong assumption that is of a superiority of one race over another, which was fundamentally wrong. And if then today you would say don't criminalize employment equity, that is failure to comply with it, that means that you then are saying inevitably that we should in fact on a blink just forget that there has been such disparities in terms of race with regard to employment opportunities, as well as the extent to which women can in fact access positions that are higher, both in terms of occupation at the market level and as well as in public institutions. The last report that has been commissioned by the Employment Equity Commission indicates, in fact, that there's been, to a greater degree, failure by the private sector to, in fact, to comply with the requirements as outlined, including targets as been set out by employment equity. Compared to public institutions have in fact fared very well. So if then the committee would say the honorable member, in fact, is it correct to think in that way, then it means that the work that is currently being done and accounted to in terms of its parliamentary duty to this committee, then it means that we are shying away from our responsibility. I think we should, in fact, condemn the assertions that are made by Honorable Begra with regard to the issue of non-criminalization of the failure to comply with the employment equity targets. They should, in fact, be criminalized, and that all offenders should, in fact, be fined extremely, not just with lighter fines, but extremely, so that the issue of race is in fact abolished, not just on the streets, but also at the workplace, and also it is abolished across the globe. Today, we're sitting with an unstable society because of issues of associated with race, and that cannot be allowed to persist within our midst, in particular in the committee. I think, Chair, we should in fact be highly intolerant to any, in fact, statement that seek to, in fact, to trivialize our commitment against any form of racism, be it at the workplace, religion, or anywhere that is within our society. Thank you, Chair.
The sentence that starts with, this can be addressed through strict enforcement of fines for non-compliance to employment equity targets, remains as it is. Members will advance their ideological and political views in the debate or in other platforms within the committee. Do we? Are there any? What I think that's what I want to assist and the committee by ruling in that order, so that it accommodates both views, and those views are still to be advanced. And I'm repeating this and repeating it for the last time. These views that we are addressing, we must put them out there if it was not because of virtual, also even in plenary, now in the hybrid, we'll have to engage with this, because I think it is correct that all the programs that have been put by this government are not programs just for the sake of putting them, are programs that are to ensure that the situation in our country, in as far as the system that was governing us, put us in a very difficult situation, and we are to address that. At the sector of the society will be uncomfortable with that. The other sector of the society will be comfortable with that. But our endeavor is that everybody now must begin to acknowledge. I'm reminded about this debate that is advanced by these two honorable members, and I hope members are following what is in the media, the issue about cricket, politics that are advanced there. You can't separate that from what is happening in the labor market. And I think it's about time that we really speak about these things out, and so that people understand that we do have that responsibility. And I don't think that we need to be shy away from that. So it will still be there. We're not going to delete it, but we'll advance our arguments, which are very interesting from both members. I so wish we were in the house, because I don't like to speak this thing of the virtual meetings. You speak looking at people in on the iPad. On debate like this, I would like to speak with people looking at them. It's quite interesting, exciting. We've got that responsibility. So that's the ruling, honorable members. 6.1. Remember that we've got a sitting at 3. 6.1.2, inspection and enforcement services program. Any comments?
I've raised my hand, Chair.
Honorable
Honorable Ndabe.
Ndabe.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair. 6.1.2 recommendation is to enforce what I've raised on the observation 5.1.2 in relation to the 500 occupational health and safety inspectors. My recommendation is to recraft the sentence to say that ensure that the currently running process of appointing 500 occupational health and safety inspectors is fast-tracked so that they reach the full productive capacity, protection of workers against arbitrary treatment during these health and life-threatening prevailing conditions, as well as an economic crisis, is crucial. So that is my submission, Chair.
Okay. In your submission, you're a bit fast. I don't know whether, for me, I don't know whether other members have captured that, so that if they want to deliberate, they deliberate on it, having understand. If you don't mind, can you repeat, but a bit, your pace was a bit fast.
Okay,
I also want the secretariat to be able to capture.
I was saying, Chair, 6.1.2 recommendation that I want to put forward is in relation on the observation that I've raised on 5.1.2 in relation to inspection and enforcement services. Therefore, I'm recrafting the submission or the sentence that talks about the training of the employment, or the training of the inspectors. I'm saying let us rephrase that to say ensure that currently running process of appointing 500 occupational health and safety inspectors is fast-tracked so that they reach full productive capacity, protection of workers against arbitrary treatment during this health and life-threatening prevailing conditions, as well as economic crisis, is crucial.
Thank you.
Sentence that I'm putting forward, Chair, as a recommendation.
Thank you, honorable members. Honorable Member. Any comment on that? Are members still in?
Yes, Chair,
Yes, Chair.
Honorable Nontsele?
Yes, Chair, I'm moving in support of Honorable Ndabe's proposed amendment with regard to the recommendations on 6.1.2.
Thank you. Any objection? None. 6.1.3, public employment services. Thank you. 6.1.4. Can you go up, Honorable? I'm sorry, Mr. Sakaza, can you go up? Thank you. No comments. Then we're on 6.2, support employment services. Any comments?
Yes, Chair. Honorable Gonzalez, Chair.
Yes, Honorable Nontsele.
Thank you, Chair. On 6.2, I would want to, in support of the formulation, is just to make the reformulation just a slight change. That the sentence should read, the paragraph should read, the Department of Environment and Labour must speed up and quickly conclude its engagements with the National Treasury. That must ensure that special dispensation does exist. That among others propels all government departments and state-owned entities to procure furniture, hospital linen, PPEs, and any other goods and materials that is produced by supported employment enterprises factories.
Thank you. I hope members have captured that. Any comments?
Thank you, Chair.
Honorable Hermans?
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair. I want to second
Honorable Hermans?
all departments, not to refer to health and basic education, but to all other departments.
Okay. All right. Thank you, honorable members. Is there any objection to that reformulation? By the looks, there are none. With all the, can we then get, well, we've got amendments, can we, and additions, can we then, with all that, can we then have a mover and a seconder of our report?
Chairperson,
Honorable Zuma?
thanks, Chairperson. I formally move the adoption of the agenda
Of the report.
of the report, sorry.
Yes. Can we get a seconder?
Hermans, Chair.
Honorable Hermans?
Chair, I, Honorable Hermans, seconds the motion made by Honorable Zuma for the adoption of the report as tabled to us with the changes. Thank you.
Chair Michael Bagram,
Honorable Bagram?
I want to note my objection to the report.
Yes, honorable member.
Chair, you can
No
note the
objection.
objection of the Democratic Alliance to the report. Thank you.
Chair, also please note the Freedom Front Plus's objection to the report. Thank you.
Okay.
Honorable Chair, can you please note the EFF's objection to the report? Sorry for being late.
No, we got your apology. Thank you very much. Objections are noted. The report is adopted. It will then go through the channels that have gone. Yeah. Can we then go to our minutes? Honorable members, do we have the copy of the minutes? Mr. Sakaza?
Yes, Chair, I'm opening up the minutes of the 24th of June, Chair. I'm just trying to share it. I just want to check if members can see that. 24th of June.
Yes.
Can members see that?
Yes. Are all members, can members see that? On your screens, with the exception of Honorable Mdabe. So there's the attendance go up. That's page 1. Page 2, those are the minutes that we adopted. Go up, Mr. Sakaza. Can we get a mover and a seconder of the minutes of the 24th?
Chairperson. Chairperson, I, Honorable Zuma, formally move the adoption of the minutes. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Zuma. Can we get a seconder?
Honorable Chair, I, Honorable Hermans, formally seconds the motion by Honorable Zuma to adopt the minutes of the 24th. Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you, honorable members. Mr. Sakaza, can you take us to the next set of minutes?
Chair, I've got the minutes of the Friday, 3 July 2020, sorry, Chair. 3rd July.
Okay. 3rd July, first page. Second page. Third page. Fourth. Fifth page. Don't be too fast. Okay, there are no comments. Thank you. Can we get a seconder? A mover, I'm sorry.
Chair, see Honorable Nonzale.
Yes, Honorable Nontsele.
Just on a point on the resolution on point 5. Amongst the resolution, there was a resolution that the questions not responded to should in fact be submitted in writing. The responses not captured under resolutions, and in fact I'm still waiting for those responses as well.
No, we don't usually put on our minutes, but we'll make a follow up with the department on that.
There is the meeting, Chair. Thank you. sorry for interjecting.
It's the first time that we want that to be in the minutes, because we have always, since we started
a ban on the sale of
last
alcohol.
year, we've always
If we are
reminded
going
the
to consider
department
those
that
bits.
if there are questions
I
that have
think
not been answered, they must forward that to the secretariat, for the secretariat to circulate those to members.
the best they should have done
We'll
is to
make a
go
follow-up
bury
on
those
that.
grave they open in
Can we then
Johannesburg.
get
And
a mover?
so if you take
Okay. Sorry, because I didn't know that my mic is unmuted.
so that's the first.
On that
The second thing
understanding,
is you-
Chair, I want to move a motion for the adoption of the minutes. That is not.
Thank you. Can we get a seconder?
Chairperson, Honorable Mdabe.
Honorable Hermans.
Honorable Mdabe.
Thank you, Chairperson. I, Honorable Mdabe, second the motion as proposed by Honorable Nontsele.
Okay. Mr. Sakaza?
Yes, Chair. I'm moving to the next set, which is the 8th of July. Let me open that one. I've got the Wednesday, 8th July.
Thank you. First page. Second page. Thank you. Thank you, honorable members. Can we get a mover?
Yes, Chair.
Honorable Zuma.
Thanks, Chair. I, Honorable Sibongo Zuma, formally move the adoption of the minutes. Thank you.
Can we get a second?
Honorable Chair.
Honorable Nontsele.
Honorable Nontsele seconds the motion by Honorable Zuma for the adoption of the minutes. Thank you, Chair.
Is for the adoption of the minutes of, because you must also mention the
The
date.
8th of the, sorry, Honorable Chair. Honorable Nontsele seconds the motion moved by Honorable Zuma for the adoption of the minutes of the 8th of 2022.
No,
Thank you, Chair.
I think we are done with the minutes, Mr. Sakaza.
Yes, Chair.
No, thank you very much, honorable members. I think we are done with the work that which we are assigned to do in terms of, as the committee, but with the understanding that it is not the end of our work. When we were debating, when we were deliberating on our report, on our adjustment report, some very important, critical and challenging matters were raised by members on both political parties, which then means that we do have work to do. I want to repeat that it's not going to end here. It's challenging us to really look and lead on issues that we think they are to be looked at, because in this new normal, there are issues that we can't run away from, but it is how then we must engage one another. And when I was referring members, when I said I'm reminded by what I am following, and I will request members to go and follow and read, because it's a reflection of what we are faced with in the country and globally. It's not only about sports, what is there, but it's about our day-to-day running. Yes, we can never be always referring to our past, but our past must assist us to go forward. And we will engage on those. What is important is how we engage, and I believe on that when we engage on these matters, we must create a conducive environment within ourselves, allow ourselves to say things that in some are not palatable, but they are not about us, they are about the future. So the workers and the working class in this country will be looking into this committee, into how best do we ensure that in the new normal, we don't make their lives more difficult, as it's going to be difficult. And I'm sure we have been engaged, when we engage in our struggles to ensure that the regulations that governs the labor force, should I say transformed? And if those are being challenged, we are not going to sit down and keep quiet. And I don't think the working class will sit down and keep quiet, because Parliament is another terrain of struggle. And we need that. That's why I'm saying we need not be hostile, arrogant, but we need to be assertive and tolerant to one another. Difficult as it is, because we are really in a with the pandemic, but also with the challenges that are affecting our people. Having said that, honorable members, let's have our lunch, prepare ourselves for the sitting at 3 o'clock. Our meeting is adjourned. Thank you. I'm missing you. I don't like to see you on TV, on the screen. I want to see you in person, but let's be tolerant. We'll do that when we're allowed to do it. Take care. And
Thank you,
lead
Madam
by-
Chair. Keep well.
Thank you,
I
sir.
will.
All the best.
Bye.
Everyone, keep well. See you
Bye.
afternoon at 3.
Bye.
Thank you, Chair.
Bye, Chair.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you, Slalo. Bye.
Thank you, Chair. Bye. Bye, everyone. Uhleli uyangidinga, guys. Is-aram lesi bakwethu. Ngcono kubuye wena lihleuzi ngale. Phela kwasihlanu honorable yena kayethu honorable.
Honorable Ndabe, are you still there? Gone.
Uzongitshela ukuthi Yeah.